Hello, it's Eurocine Expo 2025, day 2 in Munich, a very hot and sweaty day in Munich.
Right.
I'm not saying you are, Phil, sorry. But yeah, welcome. Phil Arntz from, you're an aerial DP, which is a, fascinating world. But I'd like to go back to, how did you get into this game? What set you down this path?
So yeah, I do mostly manned aviation as an aerial DP, so cameras on helicopters, planes, that kind of stuff. But going back to how I actually got into it, because obviously it's a very niche field, it all started with my love for falling out of planes, jumping out of them, the sort of more extreme side of sports. So I spent a fair bit of time...
Skydiving.
Yeah, skydiving,
Right, yeah.
exactly.
Not actually,
Jumping out of perfectly good airplanes, basically.
with the parachute though, not falling out of plane.
Yeah, I haven't tried it without one yet. So basically I spent a lot of time in the Middle East and on a job there when I was younger.
Yeah.
And part of that was like, they had this amazing skydiving facility. So I learned how to do that. And the company that I worked with at the time, they did a lot of extreme sports projects. Right. So a lot of that was like, I'm not sure if you've ever seen the Jetman guys that fly like jetpacks around with the A380 over Dubai, and skydiving, motocross, all that kind of stuff. And obviously it begs the question of, how do you capture any of it?
Yeah.
And the way to capture it is to find something that's equally as fast and that flies, and that's usually a helicopter. So that was sort of the start of the journey into specialism. And before that, the way I ended up there was just like kid with a camera, always wanted to make films.
Yeah.
It's always the coolest thing ever.
And you're totally comfortable hanging out of a helicopter?
Yeah, and you know what? And now it's a little bit more chill. Like I'm quite happy dangling underneath it, but we've got gyro stabilized systems on the nose. So I just sit in the back and I've just got my little joystick. And that's what I do.
It's like first class travel almost.
Exactly, and like I'm the ultimate backseat driver, honestly.
Yeah. But it's fantastic how it's developed, hasn't it?
Yeah, you know what? Like, and that was the thing. Obviously, you filming from aircraft was like you can have a camera on your shoulder, look out the door. Then obviously Tyler sort of brought out the mini gyros, so you had a spinning gyro stabilized system that you still hold on with, and you wrestle it out the door basically and shoot it that way. And then we went to like turret systems, stabilization on multiple axes, and now we use shot over systems, the 6-axis stabilized, they hang on the nose. And honestly, you can throw whatever you like at them and it'll just stay steady.
Really, yeah. And there's some incredible pilots, aren't there? I mean, you constantly, it seems quite regularly you see some, helicopter cinematography that has been done that you think, how the hell did you do that? I mean, obviously the Mission Impossible ones kind of thing, it's what everyone thinks of, but there's a lot where I've seen flying a helicopter under bridges on LA River and stuff like that, which is like...
It's one of those things, right? Like any department in the film industry, it all comes down to the collaboration between the creative department. So just as like, if you were a camera operator and you had your dolly grip and you wanted to do a specific shot, but your dolly grip pushed you the wrong direction, you wouldn't get the shot. And it's very much the same in the aerial side of things. So my company, the aerial film company, is the other director of that company is a chap called Will Banks, and he's an ex-Royal Navy pilot. He used to fly the military, and then he flew fixed wings in the airlines, and then private jets, and then he sort of made his way back to helicopters. He's got tens of thousands of hours of flying experience, and ultimately the nice thing with him is the flying experience is also like relatable to film. So a lot of the times you get productions and they're like, hey, we want to do an aerial shoot in this location, and hey, we found your local helicopter with a local pilot, and you're like, okay, it's one thing flying a helicopter, it's another thing flying a helicopter for a shot. And it's not just proximity, it's not just flying close to things or vehicles or terrain or whatever. It's also about like understanding how you move a helicopter to get the cameraman what you want.
Did you get the shot?
And so much of it is like non-verbal. Like we kind of instinctively understand each other. Like there's a shorthand for like, we want to do this sort of shot, and he knows where he needs to put it. So it's,
so as a business, the aerial film company, do you supply the entire package? We'll come in and...
Yeah, we're one of the sort of rare companies, especially in the UK, but I think worldwide as well, where we're basically made up of the aviation side of the arm, which is Will. He's been pilot for a long time. I've come from a film background. So we have everything in-house. So it's quite nice. So when a production calls us, we don't then have to shop it around to like
Yes.
4 or 5 different suppliers. So when they call us, they say, look, we want to do a shot in London and it's flying low over the Thames and it's chasing a car or whatever. And we want to do it with a Sony Venice and 12 time optimal or whatever. We can say, we often renting cameras and lenses because you can't own every camera and lens under the sun or you'd be a very poor man. But we have the stabilized systems, we've got the helicopters, we've got the crew. So realistically for production, it's one call. And then it's like, okay, here it is. We apply for the permit. And if, for example, one of the helicopters has a technical issue and it can't do it, then we switch it onto another helicopter.
Right, yeah.
So I think we've got 12, 13 machines.
I was going to say how many we've got. Yeah.
Big variety, single engines, twin engines, big helicopters, small helicopters.
Yeah.
So there is something kind of for everyone. And it does, I think we're also trying to get people to understand that like having a company that can service everything is quite good, because also if they want to shift something by a couple of days because of weather, we're really flexible to that, because we can say, you know what, we've got aircraft availability, we can shift that, no problem. Whereas if you then have to call around and then the supplier goes, actually we can't have that helicopter that day, then you need to find someone else. So you need to drive your equipment to somewhere else. So it's kind of nice to have everything under one roof, and I think it sort of offers a better service for production.
Yeah. And it's a fascinating world, because talking to Emma just then, the helicopter girls, the drone side of it has come in and doing all sorts of stuff. But it's interesting how they're developing side by side, because nothing's being taken over. It's complementing, and aerial photography is a massive thing in virtually every thing you see now. There's some element of it.
And it's interesting because when drones first came, it was like, oh my God, helicopter companies are going away and no one's going to use helicopters anymore. And in a lot of ways, sometimes when you used to call a helicopter, you now do it on a drone. Fine. However, I think it puts the focus on like, what do you really use a helicopter for? So you can really extract the best out of it. Yeah. So they sort of sit side by side. It's like drones are on most productions now, and they're like, sometimes they use it instead of cranes. Or like even just a locked off high wire where you use a ladder pod, because it's just like, we have this thing, we use it for everything. And with helicopters, we obviously create a lot of noise, we create a lot of wind. They're more expensive than drones, but at the same time, like, we can fly longer, we can fly faster, we can fly further, we can fly up and down and do all kinds of different things. So we're kind of very flexible as well, and they sit side by side nicely, and we're trying to also sort of push more into other areas. Like we bought this plane, it's a Pilatus PC-9, it's a fixed wing, it does like 400 miles an hour.
Right.
So you could turn that upside down and do aerobatics in it. So we're kind of looking to, because we collaborate with the helicopter girls on the drone side all the time, like we're very closely related. So we're like, how do we push fixed aviation further? How do we open perspectives that are higher, that are faster, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So
that's fantastic. Exciting world. Well, thanks for spending time to talk to us, Phil.
of course,
Hopefully we catch up again sometime and take me for a ride in a helicopter.
anytime.